gosh. Okay, there you go. Good morning, guys. Happy happy last Saturday of June, I believe, right? Isn't the last Saturday? Yep, last Saturday of June. Oh boy, craziness. Come on and mute everybody real quick. That's crazy. I don't even know where the time goes, but good morning, everybody, and welcome to our new book. Woo, oh, here it comes. Second, more people. See, I knew it. Welcome to our new book. I like the backing of it because you can highlight it and it doesn't like all flimsy. I love it. I love it. It feels like a real book. So when so of course the beginning explains what we're going to read. So it, you know, how it talks about what we're going to read, and I'll go through what I highlighted, but it was so interesting. I don't know what it was to me. So I'm sitting there reading it, and the first chapter about about freedom, and I'm reading it and I'm just like, it was just all resonating with me in the fact of, I believe it had to have been a couple years into Neora. I mean, maybe a couple years before, just the transition and the transformation I had in my life with my personal development, and how the things it talks about, I made the decision that I wasn't going to let people tell me how I was going to live or what I should do or take it to heart, so to say. And so when I was reading it, it was just like, it was like that. It was weird for me. I don't know how to describe what my feeling was going on, but it was kind of crazy. So let's see. The Anne's stuck in the waiting room. Let me see. I don't see her anywhere. Maybe she's in the wrong waiting room. So let's ask her to go back in because I don't see her. Okay. So how it describes what we're going to read about. There she comes. See? Okay. Why, having been endowed with the courageous heart of a lion, do we live as mice? I mean, that just starts it off perfect, but it's true. Why do we, and this goes along with what we've read before, why do we live so little and not so, not stronger or powerful? And how it just, the whole thing talks about, those are just, I don't need those highlights. It's just describing what we're going to read. Hi, Anne. I'm going to go into the freedom part. The purpose within it is to live as we truly are and enjoy the full terrain of life's freedom as we chase our own meaning and purpose, our own legacy. Base of all our desire is the greatest desire for freedom to choose and actualize that desire of genuineness and joy in our being is what we're going for this personal freedom. And you know what sticks with me, and you know, I know my sister's on here, so it's my family is one of the biggest things for me. Is, you know, I'm the youngest and I am kind of non-conventional and I do my own thing. And so growing up, I always did what I was told by them, and I always followed them, and I did do what they said. And then there was a time in my life, and I don't remember when, but I decided to think on my own, you know, and I started to be my own person. And I can say that there's nothing wrong with this, but I know that, like, there are some family members who think, you know, oh, well, you know, not that I'm not on the right path, but, you know, I don't have that what is it, that savings for my future, that, you know, I don't have my own house, I don't have all of these things that you're supposed to have, so to say. But when I read this, I was like, but I have that happiness. I have that, I have that purpose. I'm doing what I love to do. For me, having millions of dollars in the bank right now is not important, but for me, enjoying my life and being with the people who I'm with, or babysitting and doing this business, and not, you know, being that and have that purpose of changing lives with that is so much more important. And I know that's hard for, like, my brother and his wife to kind of understand too, but, like, I know it's hard for them to understand that. And so when I read this, and I was like, you know, this is what it's talking about. It's talking about, you know, being courageous and doing what you believe in and loving wholeheartedly, and not worrying about what they say about who you love, or not saying, you know, caring what people say about what you're doing, but being confident enough and vulnerable enough to take the step to where you need to go for your purpose. That makes sense, everybody? And so for me, I feel like one day it just kind of switched with me. Page 12, let's see. We will always need to work towards self-mastery and social prowess so that we can authentically express who we are and joyously seek what we desire of life. Let that be our work, to joyously seek what we desire of life. And it was just, I mean, like this other, we must overcome social and self-oppression if we're ever to join the ranks of the free souls who love their lives and lead their people. It made me also, it talks about how people, like it talks about all of the people who fought for things and how they didn't let people stop them from fighting for things. And it made me think about, just kind of where we are today in our society and the people, how everything is happening. And I just, it's just kind of cool to see that we as a group, and I say we because I can't talk for everybody out there, but we as a group have evolved to bigger people. Do you know that since we've read all that we've read, and we have all evolved to this bigger purpose in this world because of what we read, what we're doing, who we are becoming, and we're becoming those people for people who were around and we don't even realize it. Yeah. Let's see, sorry. Let's see, I think I'm almost done here. Page 17. We learn that the more we are true to ourselves, the more we can connect with and contribute to the world. We find that the more free and spontaneous and authentic we become, the more our motivation and aliveness returns, and the more others are attracted to us and want to be around us. And that is so true. So true. Genuineness and growth, I got off here. Personal freedom is about being free to live, to truly enjoy and expand in life. And one of the other, I don't have it here, but like really, and I posted something yesterday, but it wouldn't post to Facebook, it was weird, is living in the moment. Like wherever you are, just live in the moment, be there, be present, do what you're doing right then and there. And, and I'm one of those people where I used to be on my phone, or I used to do things, or I used to, just be when I was with people. And I don't ever have my phone with me anymore when I'm around people. When I'm with people, it's like I'm with people. I just put it away. I have it in my pocket in case there's an emergency, but I'm not looking at it. I'm being present with my friends or my family. I'm not trying to, I mean, sometimes I'm on it with my family because I don't want to hear what my mom has to say, but that's the way to distract myself. But when I'm around people, I just try to be present because we just don't know if we're going to have this moment again. We just don't know if tomorrow is going to be tomorrow, and you got to enjoy this life that we have because of all of everything, like last year and everything that we've all, like everything that everybody has gone through. We would hope that people have learned lessons. Let's see. Sorry, I'm almost done. I'm on my rampages right now. Okay, the very last part of it. This work will require that we finally declare who we are and what we want. It will require new levels of presence and power and ownership in the important roles we play in our lives. And then the very last part, let the value of freedom ring through every crevice of our minds, through every thought and action we choose, through every relationship we influence, through the long days and long marches that lead to our highest selves, our highest contributions, through all the hopeful dreams born from a liberated soul. It's very powerful. And yes, it is deep, Michelle. It's very powerful. I think that's the word I would use. Very powerful words. So anyways, who'd like to share? And you guys missed it, but my alarm went off and I woke up and I knew I had like a certain amount of time to like snooze and then get up, and I'm laying here and I was kind of tired and I literally fell back to sleep dreaming I was on the Zoom, and then I woke up and it was 8 o'clock and that's why I was rushing to get on. That was the weirdest feeling. And I was dreaming I was talking to you guys already. Anyways, who's next? Go ahead, Catherine.
Okay, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I just thought I'd tell you, I bought the audio version because I'm in the car so much, so I'm listening to it, and while I have my coffee, I'm listening to it. And I find his voice doesn't hold me. I will just say that, and we'll get that out of the way. So I have to really pay attention. But there was a couple of things he said that I really like. One of them was when he quoted JFK saying, "Conformity is the enemy of growth." And then he talked about we get really busy, we do this, we become lax. And I went, oh, yeah, we kind of do when we've had a long day. I
Mhm.
find that I go, I don't want to deal. Let me take the easy way out, or let me just not deal with it now. And so I find that all of that falls into it. And then he was talking about if you want anything new, not like, if you want to have change, be the change. But I liked his sentence that something new comes from within and not from without. So we have to quit looking on the outside for what we want, that we're going to find it on the inside. So I appreciated that. And love openly and find peace. And when you do that, you'll have peace. And with the peace, then you can move forward. So those were my takeaways from it. And just so you know, yeah, the audio. So I can't hold up a book. I can hold up my iPad, but anyway, that's my share. Thank you.
Nice, thank you. Who else would like to share? Who's next? Michelle, go ahead. You find that word? Good, yeah. Michelle had one word she had to look up and it didn't like.
Yeah, I was reading something and I didn't know the word, and that quite annoyed me. But anyway, I find it, like I said, I find it very deep and really makes you think a lot. Some parts of it, like I've spent quite a bit of time in Cuba at different times. And my friend being married to a Cuban veterinarian, when we go there, we're only with the Cubans. And there's so much, when he was talking about the oppression and everything, it just reminds me of so much. And yet the people that are oppressed don't realize that they're oppressed. They think they have, the best life in Cuba. They don't, but they think they do. It's just things like that. And I don't know, so much of it just brought back times. I lived in South Africa when Nelson Mandela was in jail on Robben Island. And, I went there to try to get people to smarten up. It was just living or just seeing people that are oppressed, and we come home to our countries where we're not oppressed. In many ways, we're not oppressed. Like I'm Caucasian, so I know how lucky I am. I started to write a book once, and the first sentence in my book was, "I was born white in North America. I'm the luckiest person around, because compared to the rest of the world, I have no oppressions." But reading this, I do realize how lucky I am. And I would be reading along and I'd think, oh, Lorraine's going to really appreciate this. She's going to talk on this. And I'd read something else. And, we've been doing this for 2 years now, but I'd be reading and I think people are going to relate to this individually, but to me, it's very deep. And we were talking the other day, and in Canada, we have something that's just come out that nobody knew about or nobody dealt with. And it's very, very much like genocide of the Aboriginal children. It was a genocide. And it's unbelievable that this has occurred and what has occurred in the world. To me, I'm reading this and I've always thought, if I'd been born in Hitler's time, because I have a disability, I wouldn't have survived through it. It had nothing to do with being Jewish. It had the fact that I wasn't perfect from age 16 on. So just reading this is bringing up a lot of emotions, but it's very, very powerful. So that's it.
Thank you, Michelle. That's thank you. It makes me think, I wonder if that's what's one of the things that's wrong with our younger generation. Like, I know they have history and they read about the history, but I remember growing up and really knowing about, the genocide and Hitler and everything. I remember reading and knowing about all of that when I was younger, and it was something that was prevalent. We talked about. Do they talk about that anymore in school? Like, because I wonder if people realize the stuff that really did go on, and we all,
I know in Canada, we're definitely going back to it, and we're definitely going back to the residential schools and what really happened there. So hopefully they're going back to all of history, but I don't know what different countries cover different things. I know when I was traveling, countries like Holland, and people knew more about our history than we knew about our own history. Right. So other countries in the world seem to care more about what happened in the world. They were so close to Germany as well. And, any of us that have ever been to a place like Dachau, and walk through it. I mean, I couldn't even get on the bus. I was just so overwhelmed. It was just overwhelming. So you have to touch history, I think, sometimes in your life to remember and remember who you are, and like the positive in this is to be yourself, etc., and to not conform. I can't talk today. Yeah, I knew
No, I
that word.
agree.
I just can't say it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I went to Germany in my 20s, and I went to where all the books were burned, and I went where the wall was taken down, where the big that big statue is, where there's a cross on it on one side and not the other. And I went into one of the concentration camps, and it was very powerful, and it was very. It made you appreciate, definitely made you appreciate what time I was living in. So that's why I was wondering about kids these days, if they really recognize, because some of them feel so entitled. You know what I mean? I'm wondering just about that. So listening, like these kind of books. I mean, do we know how many young kids are really would read something like this? So anyways, I was just thought
Okay, I have an answer.
What you said, Michelle. Yeah.
No, they're not teaching a lot of the history in the schools here in the US.
Right.
Our kids are ignorant as hell.
I've looked at a lot of my nieces.
Alan's been checking out his nieces and nephews' textbooks and stuff, and a lot of stuff is left out.
Interesting. Huh. Interesting. I mean, it's gonna make a lot of things more clear, that why there's so many kids that are, I don't know. Anyways, it's part of this. It's that freedom part. It's this what this is saying about freedom. So anyways, okay. Go ahead. Did you want to go, Pat? I saw you unmute.
Yeah, I agree with Robin in that a lot of the history of the United States, especially between the races, has been omitted. I mean, people are just finding out about Tulsa, Oklahoma, St. Louis. These are places where people of African American descent were slaughtered. It's not recorded in history books. And with the Congress, the general who was speaking, saying that we have to study history in order to move forward and to know about all the different trains of thought. And because they had to study Napoleon and the Manifesto of Marxism and all of these other different forms of government or thoughts of politics. And it's as if we're trying to cover up and to say that there is not a problem when there should not be a problem, but there is a systemic problem that has been from the very beginning, and it needs to be dealt with. When I read this, Monique, I thought of you because I know that you are a nonconformist. And I said, wow, this is so, because the things that you do, you enjoy. And on your Instagrams and your Facebook, you're living your life. We can see that openly, and you're having fun with it. And I really, I admire you in that. And talking about children, I was a conformist, and I guess I still am, in that being the oldest. And when my parents told me something to do, I did it. I did not backtalk. But my sister, the second sister, who's 3-4 years younger than me, she was rebellious. Oh boy, she went and did things her way, or it was no way of the highway. You know, she still is like that. And especially now that my mom is into dementia and Alzheimer's or whatever the different terms are, she knows who we are, but her memory is failing. And my sister, when my mom goes off on a tangent, my sister will bring her back, try to bring her back, but you cannot. But she tries to correct her, and I think she just doesn't understand the disease. But she gets offended on things that my mom says because they're not in control. She's not in control. It's just, she says whatever comes to mind, and it can be hurtful. And I just roll with it. I laugh at it. I dismiss it. I don't take it to heart. But my sister is one who she just, she has to tell her where it is, you know. So it was just a lot of different things. I know that with my husband being in the military, my position always came second to his. I had to work in fields of employment that were transferable. So that's why I was in finances a lot, because you can go from one, I worked in banks, savings and loans, credit unions, all things that could be transferred and where they had a financial place on the base. Until he retired, then I was able to pursue and to advance. But I always got into middle management, uh, never able to really go where I wanted to go because we were going to be moving soon. But and it's just a lot of different things. And I said, wow, this is knocking on my door, that I need to overcome a lot of things when he's talking about pursuing freedom and what I really want. I don't even know sometimes what I really want, because I've been so conformed, you know, so blending in, putting everybody else first. And it's a lot of different things. I know I'm rambling now, so I'll
No,
just.
no, that's cool. It's a good, it makes everybody think, but it just, I mean, it makes you think, it makes us think, but then you saying it out loud makes makes you hear yourself, you know. That's what, I mean, we can read and think about it, but once you talk, we can ramble, but I believe that's where the magic happens, because then your subconscious mind heard you, and later on you'll go back and you'll be like, okay, I don't really know, so I better find that out. And because these books are so thought-provoking, it makes us really dig deep inside and go, okay, we need to have this personal free. Okay, I get it. Okay, you know, so no, you're not rambling, Pat. I think that's the joy of our club. Who else would like to be next? Who would like to be next? Sharon.
Okay, so this book, to me, when I started reading the first couple of pages, felt like it was the transition from Jamie's book, where she ended, you know, and then it was like a pick me up to kind of move forward into it. So it was like one book you finish and this kind of blends into it and then brings you forward. So, I mean, I thought it was very interesting that you decided that this book would be the one. And in reading it, really, I had to go back and reread, like paragraphs 2-3 times just to understand and get it. And knowing that freedom is knowing that, you are genuine, you are who you truly are. And like Pat said, I grew up having to conform to what my parents said too. And just like, Pat, my younger sister by 3 years, is very rebellious and is still rebellious to this day. And, we always say, how is it that two people from the same parents can be so opposite? I mean, and my sister and I do not talk. And we have not talked in the last 5 years. So, but this says freedom requires responsibility to choose who we are above and beyond our immediate impulse, needs, and social pressures, so that we can genuinely express the type of person we want to be. Well, you know what? I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to figure it out. And so I have to keep rereading it, because I'm like, okay, who do I really want to, who am I really? And like I said, last couple of times when we were reading the other book, that I am finally realizing that I am not Sharon the realtor. That's who I always thought who I was. That is not me. I need to be me. And so, that has totally changed. My mindset has totally changed. And I am now embracing who Sharon truly is and who she is trying to be. And so, you know, I being so afraid to post things about Neora on social media. Oh my God, I have been going gangbusters now. You know, it's like, oh, I can't wait to share what else, you know, there is that people need to know about this. And so total opposites, and all because of the reading that we've been doing. And so freedom, we have to figure out what it is. We need to understand who we truly are. And I think it's going to take a while for me to figure that out. But I know that I'm on the right path to it, and I embrace the me that is coming out of all of this.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome, Sharon. I have a question, because Pat kind of made a comment too, and you, so, and I don't want it to sound, it's not bad, it's not wrong. Being married, does that stifle who you're becoming?
No.
Okay.
No, because I was single. I was single for so many
stifle you, but
years.
you know what I mean? Not stifle you, but how Pat said she had to go in this route because of her family and being, you know, what she had to do to her life. That's how her life was set up. So that's why I was asking.
No,
you were single for a long time.
I was single for a long time. I was married for 7 years the first time, and I was divorced. I was single for 20 years before I met my husband. So yeah, I lived the single life. I lived me, but I was what?
I have a name.
I know, Dennis. He has a name.
So I was curious. Okay, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very cool. Okay, good. That's just you know, I'm just asking questions. Okay, next. Thank you, Sharon. Who else would like? Who's next? Robin, go ahead.
Okay. Chapter on freedom. This is honestly a very serious subject for me, because I live with a soldier. So freedom takes on a whole nother, and Pat will understand this, takes on a whole nother life of itself because of their beliefs in what they do and why they signed up, because they fight for our freedom. What's going on now with, I'm not going to generalize, but with a lot of the children so willing to give up their freedoms for what they think they're entitled to, is really hard to swallow, because I do know people who have died trying to protect our freedom, and it's an insult. It's and I'm glad he's not in the house, because he'd be ranting and raving, but it's a complete insult to want to give up freedom just so you can gain something you don't have to work for. And people don't understand how important it is until they don't have it. That's all I got, because I pretty much can't talk anymore.
No, it's very interesting. Very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. But it's true. Okay, Lorraine, go ahead.
Wow, that well, I don't know how to follow on with that. That's a very interesting perspective, Robin. And my neighbor is moving trash cans, so if you hear anything on the sideline, I'm outside today. So there was a lot to be said. I mean, a lot of our conversations could go down a rabbit hole on lots of controversial issues, like being white in America, like history, like education, freedom. There was so much. And being in this leadership program that I've been in for these last 5 months has really changed my perspective. Even the issue of my sister bringing up nonconformity, I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I do just want to say, as a disclaimer, one of the things that my brother and I see is the importance of financial planning in retirement. And I think that's where we come from, in terms of, because we see our mother's life and we see how the financial backing was not there. And I think that's what we want for our sister. And that's, I want to say that because I think it's important. There's more to us. There's more to the story, that what I have to manage on a small budget, it's really tough when somebody's not healthy. And I hope to enjoy my retirement once I hit it. And I know I'll be very planned. So nonconformity is awesome. And I appraise anybody who wants to continue that route, because it takes a lot of courage to make a decision. And that's what this book talked about, making a decision and taking actions in the decisions that you make as a nonconformist, as a rules follower, and as somebody who's had a job that didn't love, but also loved the fact that I had a little casita of my own. There's always those trade-offs. And I know that's built character in me to show up when I don't want to be there. And it's built character in me to dig deep with my business as well. There's a lot of crossovers. But our dreams are worth any struggle. And I want to say for all of you that are entrepreneurs and that are nonconformists, I have a lot of respect for you, because it takes a lot of courage to continue down that path. There's a lot of uncertainty on that path, and I can only have as much certainty as I can one day at a time. Being present is super important. That's something that I've been working on, and when I really embrace that every day, it does definitely provide an experience that's different than when I'm always plugged in. You know, at work you have to be plugged in with the computer and your phone and your page. And right now I'm on call, but I'm looking at the phone in case I get a page. So there was so much said today, and I think as all of us discussed, that history does give us a perspective where we come from. And you know, I want to bring up the whole, what's important to me, and it may actually, it's very disheartening when we think about the young people. I can't speak of the elementary, junior high, or high school level history, but what I can say about the young people that I've been exposed to, the 20-year-olds, there is an entitlement, because at that age they expect you and know that they're going to be a CEO someday. That isn't something I even thought of at 20. So that's a big difference in terms of like entitlement that I've witnessed in that particular demographic. I am, you know, the genocide and some of the recent things that have come up, but I'll tell you what's very, very, really disappointing, as I don't feel like we've come that far, is the Asian American hate crimes and what we went through with Pearl Harbor and what we went through with some other Japanese oppressed situations. And Asians are still getting beat up. That's ridiculous that we did not learn, and that our president gave those Japanese Americans money after Pearl Harbor to make up for what we did to make a mistake. He gave them like $10,000 a family. And that was senior President Bush that did that. And history, and here we are today, 2021, and elderly Japanese Americans are getting beat up or fatally injured. Ridiculous. So I feel like we are in the same place. And it's going to be up to us as leaders, women, to be different, to be that light, to continue to be that optimistic light when we share our business, when we share what these products can do for our lives. The Tulsa situation, Pat, I was embarrassed. I didn't know about it. I didn't read that in my history books. And now where it's coming to be. So there's just so many controversial issues that are wrapped around these chapters, but thank God that this white American man is bringing this to our attention by giving us this thought-provoking experience so we can dig deep, so we can see and take stock for where we are and who we are and what we represent. And, you know, the whole word about freedom and genuineness and growth, that was so, I mean, when I think about being genuine, I know that the world isn't used to that. So they are not trusting a genuine individual. Isn't that sad? But darn it, don't change yourself in that way, because that's where the change will take place. When they talk about personal power, when we ask for personal power, we better remember that we have personal responsibilities with that. So personal power could be that we influence somebody when we weren't there, but the responsibility to that is huge. So like, almost be careful what you ask for. I mean, I think about that for myself when I think about the commitment that I want to make to myself. And then they talked about, and here I'll close with this, about freedom. You know, Gandhi, Mandela, and other leaders, when they were free even when they were in prison because of their mindset. And yeah, you know, the reason why we doubt ourselves so much, the reason why we have all these issues and we're finding ourselves every day, we all of us are, and thank God we're all having this conversation because we're all growing, is because we weren't raised that way. We weren't raised. I mean, how many no's did we get before we got a yes when we were growing up? So even as babies, even as infants, we're still fighting that idea of our worthiness. And somebody says to me, hey, how you doing? I'll say, I'm blessed and highly favored. That's an affirmation. I am blessed and highly favored. And they look at me like I'm crazy. However, some people that are Christians go, amen. They understand, right, Pat? I'm blessed and highly favored. Amen. And so I really think for me that this book is going to open up a whole nother can of worms. It definitely partners on top of the leadership program that I'm in, and I'm waiting to get accepted into our employer leadership program. And honestly, guys, the reason why I'm doing all this is because Neora has a great leadership program. However, workplace leadership program is very different. It's a different perspective, but very applicable. And I want to be well-rounded. I think God is preparing me for something amazingly huge. And honestly, like my sister said, my own personal struggles is the decline of my mother's personality. That's really been so challenging. So God willing, these leadership programs and our conversations together will allow me to better understand what she's going through, but more importantly, demonstrate grace when it's needed. That's probably my biggest cross that I bear, because I'm so close and I deal with daily issues all the time. And I'm glad my sister doesn't have to deal with them physically. I think she hears them, but she doesn't have to physically see them like I do. And I'm only sharing that because this process right now is challenging me to grow in a direction I didn't realize. And Monique, I'll say this publicly, I hope that I don't turn into that as you see me age. And you can remind me, Lori, you said you weren't going to do that, because it's brutal. So it was a great book. Let's not forget all the other races that have been oppressed. This Japanese oppression has just really bothered me a lot. And some of the women in leadership are Japanese American and Chinese American, and they're very bright. And some of the history they've shared with me with their families is very heartbreaking. So, but thank you for letting me share. I think, you know, this particular book, when I think about applicability with my business, this is about us growing. I don't know how I can't cross-reference my business right now. This is about us empowering one another and growing and supporting and lifting one another up. That's all I can say. And thank you for everybody for sharing. I just, very, very good conversation today. Thank you for letting me share.
Absolutely. And our books aren't going to always apply to it's not necessarily applicable to business. It's applicable to who we are becoming. And that's the biggest part, is that every book we read is helping us to become a better version of ourselves daily. And we're not even there yet. And we are always going to be on that path of knowledge and growth and always becoming better versions, because if we become better versions, then we are we're that light in the world, you know, and that's what we need. And when you hear about, and I was listening to you, Lori, when I grew, I read the history books, and I don't know, this is where my brain doesn't understand when the younger generation is. I grew up and everybody was just people. I would never in my life, even till this day, talk about the white American whatever, or I see people as people. I always have. I've never seen color. I've never seen color. I know, I mean, I just see people. And that's probably why I can joke with Robin and be like, oh, I'm not that kind of Mexican. Or, you know, I'm like, I'm not that person, or, you know, I have my apron on, but I'm not really that Mexican. You know, it's not, I'm not saying anything wrong or negative. I'm just being who I am, authentically, genuinely me, because I believe that we are all people. And so I don't, and I think most of us are like that. So it's interesting. And that's why I'm thinking the younger generation, because all that stuff is left out of the history books, because they don't get that thought provoking. We're people. We're in the United States. We're a melting pot. I mean, people don't understand. I guess they're not. I guess younger kids aren't getting that. I don't know. And I've been in situations where, I mean, I didn't even realize I was in a bad situation when I was in Alabama a few years ago until I saw some people chasing me, and I'm like, wait, why? What happened? And and everybody's trying to warn me, like, Monique, they don't really like Hispanic people. What do you mean like, I had to decide, do I go into a white restaurant or a black restaurant? And I like, I don't know. I guess the white restaurant. I don't know. Like, and it was only, I don't know, 10 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. And then I felt uncomfortable, and I literally had to get in my car, and these two white men with all these tattoos were looking for me. And I had no idea. I was like, what? And I got to my room and I started thinking about it. I'm like, that really happens? Like, what? And I mean, it was just so weird. And I've been in those situations where it's like, I don't understand it. So, anywho, next person. Anne, go ahead. This is a very good discussion this morning. Go ahead.
This is a really good discussion this morning, and very deep too. And I will say, Pat, I was embarrassed last year to not know what Juneteenth was, and to not know, and literally went through going, how did we not know about this? How were we not taught this in school? Right. And then a lot of conversations with some of my friends that were like, yeah, what is that? And it just brought to light so much of the fact that, yes, our history in this country has been whitewashed in all of our books. And so there is, and it made me even have conversations with some of my friends like, what else haven't they told us? You know, it makes you want to dive just a little bit deeper and say, what else happened in our history that we don't know about? Like, next month, what's going to come out? Or next year, what are we going to find out? Kind of that whole, and it was very unsettling to me. And Michelle, you said something that I thought was very powerful when you said sometimes you have to touch history to understand it. That is so true. And I remember being 19 and going to Washington, D.C. or 20 for the first time with a friend of mine. And we just thought it was a great excursion trip that we were going on. We were so emotional, cried half the trip. And every time we were there for like 6 days. We had all these things planned, and we went to Arlington and we saw the change in the guard, and we sat on steps and just wept like babies. And we were 20 years old, and we looked at each other, we thought, what is wrong with us? And then when we saw the wall, you know, we had our little brochure that we were like walking through Washington, D.C., looking for things, and we were looking for the Vietnam Wall. And all of a sudden we came upon it and turned to the other side, and we just stood there for the longest time in silence, just crying and crying and crying. And we thought, wow. And I totally believe that when you go to Hawaii and you see the Arizona Memorial, and I don't know how you can't just be taken back to those moments and just cry for what has happened. So I totally agree with all of that. Catherine, unlike you, I have the Audible, but I started with Brendan with his podcast. I discovered him on Instagram, and last year he and Jamie actually did a morning thing every morning at 7:30 together alive on Instagram. It was very moving, which led me to his podcast. And for some reason, I can listen to him just talk to me forever. So when you said his voice doesn't hold you, I was thinking, wow, really? Because I wake up every morning with Brendan. But I'm interested to dive deeper into this book and see where it's going to go. But just this initial part of it, I love the discussion that we're all having, because I think we all need to get a little bit deeper into our own history. And yeah, when we encounter kids who don't know about things, or who don't know, then we need to share. what we know and what we've learned, we need to share, and we need to be that light in other people and let them know that these things have happened. So that's all I have, but I am really enjoying this discussion this morning. I look forward to learning more from this book.
Absolutely. Thank you, Anne. I wonder if the Audible is really Brenda Richard's voice, because sometimes it's not the author's voice. In the book,
is Brenda
it is.
Richard.
Okay. Okay. Okay, Catherine Acuna, I see a raised hand.
Good morning, everyone. And oh gosh, I have to say our conversation this morning is very heartfelt. And it touches each and every one of us in so many different ways, and a lot of it in the same way. And I just wanted to chime in about, what children are being taught in schools today, which is so much different than what I was taught. I mean, I'm quite a bit older than most of you. And so we were actually taught, so much of old history. And, as we're learning in the media today, that children are, and I hate to say this because it just breaks my heart, that, they're being taught racism. And it's just mind blowing. I mean, I just don't know how that could even happen in today's society. But like Lorraine was saying, that, and well, all of you have been saying that we just have to, do what we can to be the best leaders that we all have in us, and make that change that the world needs. Sorry, don't know where all these tears and emotion came from, but this morning's conversation just really touched my heart. And sorry, that's all I have to share.
Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. This is why Jeff started Neora, because he knew we would put people like us together to be that change in the world. It's not just about skincare. It's not just about wellness. And he talks about he created this company to attract people like us, and to attract the people who are going to be the light in the world, because it's not just about the products. And that's what's so big about what we're doing. For sure.
Absolutely. And that's why I've stayed, because it's just about loving people and helping people become better versions of themselves, and providing, products that are going to enhance their lives even more so.
So, okay, next. Thank you, Catherine. We have time for one more person. Nancy, I think Nancy wants to go.
Wow, that's all I have to say. No, I came with some highlighted versions of the book that I wanted to share that spoke to me about self-oppression. And sometimes, like, we're our worst enemy. And the discussion today has, oh my gosh, just like grown outside of that. It's kind of bringing all my worlds together. At work, I did a 21-day equity challenge where we have a group of people and we're given a bunch of information that is not in the history books, right? These are cited examples. And I'm like you, Monique. I never felt like I saw color, but at the same time, this this challenge put me in someone else's shoes, and I had no idea I could, because I think it was Michelle said, I'm a white American. Even though I felt like I was being, I'm welcoming, whatever the case may be, I had no idea until I walked in. I mean, and I was just reading the articles and the content that they gave us. So I believe that, we have to be better versions of ourselves so that we can obviously help others. So this book is speaking to me, but this group is more powerful than anything that we're reading. It's just the comments. And, you know, I see the passion, I feel the warmth coming across in this virtual environment. And I'm just so blessed to be here and appreciate all of you. And I think the common goal of being a better version of ourselves so that we can help other people. And it, you know, it takes that one person, right? And my kids sometimes like recycling. They're like, Mom, do you get paid to take that stuff? I live out in the country. They, you know, nobody, we don't have recycling. They don't come and pick it up. So I put it in my car and I divide all this stuff up. And they're like, do you make money off of that? I'm like, no, but it's just like, I want the, you know, I want to, it's just those little things that help create a better world. Anyway.
We're maybe related, Nancy. You should see the side of my house, all my recycling. And my brother brings me his recycling and everybody laughs at me like, why? I mean, yes, I get a little money, but it's not about that. It's that it's ingrained in my head that we're supposed to recycle like this. And so when people throw all their trash in one trash, oh, they do it for you. No, they don't.
No, they don't. There's a Netflix on that. They don't.
Yeah, I gotta send it to my friends. Yeah, I have my whole side of my yard all the time is messy and then I clean it all up and then I start all over. So anybody else, any last thoughts? And then we'll take our picture. Thank you, Nancy. And I love hearing from you too, because you're one of the newest.
I just wanted to say that we have to really remember how important the history that's happening now is. Like in Canada with the residential schools, and they're finding 700 unmarked graves that nobody ever had to be accountable for. And these kids had been, anyway, it's just appalling. But so now what has happened is they're burning Catholic churches in this country. So yeah, and that's not making the big news, is it? But Catholic churches that are on reservations, or, you know, they're being burned. So this is history. It just continues on and on. So that's it. Sorry.
Well, and I know Michelle shared what was going on in Canada, and I mean, I don't watch the news, but I didn't hear anything about any of that in Canada. So it's terrible. I mean, and that's, again, all the things we don't know that's going on here or anywhere else, but we do have, I'm very appreciative of our group and very powerful with what we're doing. So, all right. Okay.
And I wanted to share one last thought. About 15 years ago, Oprah Winfrey had a show, and she talked about some of the young girls in Africa and the fact that they'd walk down the road to get water, and on their way home they'd be raped. And this was an ongoing thing that happened. And I don't take it lightly that I'm a double minority female, and I know, like some of you said, I don't see color. I felt color as I was growing up, and I felt the discrimination as I was growing up in the workplace and in college, and you know, watching my mom as an activist when I was a little girl with some of the things she fought for. She was a women's liver big time. But I don't take it lightly that I own a home in the United States. I don't take it lightly that at 28 I was able to buy a home and nobody told me I couldn't. And I don't get raped when I go outside to throw away my trash or to recycle. So like that stays with me every day. And I started doing this when I was 28 and I'm 57. So I every day am grateful for my freedom, and nobody's calling me names or nobody's at my door. And unfortunately there is those color lines, and sometimes they're taken advantage of and sometimes they're unfair. And so that's where we as wise women can make that difference in the world, to be equitable and to be wise and to be street sense when you see danger. Like my sister felt the danger, so she got out of it because her intuition told her to, thank God. So I just want to say, you know, I walk down to the corner and on my way home, I don't get raped. And that sticks with me. So maybe there's something like that that resonates with all of you too. I'll never forget that. I ran the marathon in honor of these young girls. And it was very rewarding because I didn't walk once and I thought I was going to die on the finish line, but I did it in honor of them because of that strong motivation for those young girls. And thank God Oprah has money, because she has sponsored these young women's lives for the lifetime of their lives. And some of them are doctors now. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, if you have your book, we'll take our picture. It's okay if you don't have it, and if you have virtual, it's okay. Excuse me. All right, let me get this. Okay. All right. Okie dokie, guys. So we'll just read the next chapter, which is on fear. So it's chapter 2, and it's on fear. And then that's all we have for the next weekend is we're still good for next weekend if we do it at 8, because I know it's the 4th of July weekend and people have plans. Everybody's still okay for 8 o'clock Zoom for the weekend? Okay. All right, let me go ahead and stop the recording.